This episode is brought to you by our friends Desiree and Dave from HighGravityBrew.com. You can take the pain out of propane with a Warthog electric system from HighGravityBrew.com. Steve Wilkes and I love our Warthog systems. My Warthog controller is kind of like having a brewing assistant that watches over the mash and boil and doesn't drink your beer. Steve and I have brew-in-a-bag models, but on HighGravityBrew.com you can configure a custom system that fits your style from single to 3 vessels, 5 gallons to 2 barrels. And if you use the code EBC75BB, you can save $75 off your Warthog purchase. That's at family-owned and operated HighGravityBrew.com. That's HighGravityBrew.com. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, February 3rd, 2022. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Steve and I do a pepper tincture sampler. Tinctures are a great way to dose tricky flavors into your beers in the keg, in the bottle, or directly into your glass. If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives of our audio and video shows. If you go to basicbrewingshop.com, you can find our DVDs and our brewer's logbooks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Basic Brewing and find our show page on Facebook as well. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and many thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. Well, starting the show off with some terribly sad news this week. Tom Wilkes, Steve's brother, has passed away. Tom was a Basic Brewing Video alumnus. He appears very briefly in the June 22nd, 2010 episode about our road trip to the Homebrew Conference in Minneapolis. Steve and I stopped in Kansas City to have barbecue with Tom and their other brother, Mike. Steve is very close with his siblings, so you can understand that this is pretty devastating. And our hearts go out to Steve and his whole family as they're coming to terms with this incredible loss. So rest in peace, Tom Wilkes. I asked Steve if he wanted to postpone running this interview this week, which we recorded last week before Tom passed, but he said to go with it. So I am. Frankly, I feel as close to Steve as a brother, so this is a rough time. But, you know, we gotta keep on going. Another reason 2022 sucks. I'm having issues with sending disaster show prizes to our participants in Australia. It seems the U.S. Post Office isn't sending first-class mail down there right now, so I apologize to our Aussie friends, and I'll get those to you as soon as I can. On to a positive thing. This past weekend, I took advantage of some spring-like weather to brew out on the patio. I'm brewing a simple Pilsner base beer. Just 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms of Pilsner malt, an ounce or 28 grams of Hallertau Tradition at the beginning of the 60-minute boil. Super simple. My plan is to add 3 pounds of that passion fruit puree after primary fermentation. That's the one I've been talking about adding to my Christmas kettle sour, but I'm changing plans. I think that the passion fruit Pilsner will be a really fun and tasty beer. My basement, luckily, is at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 15.5 C right now. Great temperature for a lager fermentation, in my mind. I pitched L26 Pilgrimage, which is the winter seasonal lager yeast from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Organic Yeast. Because the temperature in the basement is cool, the airlock wasn't bubbling before bedtime, but it certainly was the next morning. It's a really vigorous fermentation. Those 200 billion cells of yeast from that imperial pouch really went to work, and the smell from the airlock is really very clean. Pilgrimage is a favorite of professional brewers, and we're fortunate as home brewers that we have access to it. I've got another pouch that I'm planning to do some fun things with as well. Pilgrimage will produce lagers with a very clean profile that accentuates the flavors and aromas of Pilsner malt and noble hops. And we're going to see how it likes passion fruit, too. I can't wait. Ask your local homebrew store about L26 Pilgrimage from Imperial Organic Yeast and check them out at imperialyeast.com. Okay, this is a different format for the sampler series, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So let's go back to last week to Steve's house, where we can play with some pepper tinctures. Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks, James.
We're here in your studio.
Studio 3B.
here in your man cave back here in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about tinctures today.
Tincture.
Now, let's start out by answering the question: what is a tincture? And why would one use one?
You need a tincture instead of a poultice.
Or a salve.
Or a salve.
Or an ointment.
Yeah, or an ointment. Unless you got the dropsy. in which case, you want to get the vapors and get rid of that.
You might get the consumption.
Yeah, and then you get the feels and you're okay. So, what's a tincture? I was actually asking myself this question a night or two ago, and I forgot to do my research because I don't know what the difference is between a tincture and an extract.
Oh.
There probably is a technical difference with science-type people, but to me, they are both things that have been, the flavor, the color, etc., has been extracted from the subject matter into usually alcohol.
Mm.
So maybe a tincture and an extract are the exact same thing. I don't know, but I think they are.
I would think that an extract would be something that maybe you would use some sort of distillation or something. I don't know.
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. There may be.
Maybe we should look at a phone.
Yeah, we might want to actually do some research. But I really did. I was like, what's the difference between the two? I just don't know.
But you've used tinctures in the past.
Yeah. And so, So to me, a tincture is I take some stuff, I pour some vodka or Everclear over it, I let it set for a few days, and then I separate it from the original ingredient, and I've got this liquid that I now call a tincture.
Mm-hmm. I looked up on melanieshealth.com. An extract might use any liquid such as glycerin, vinegar, oil, or even water. A tincture is an extract that uses alcohol as the liquid that the herbs are infused into. In other words, all tinctures are extracts, but not all extracts are tinctures. There you go.
I love it. So when you make like a rosemary infused olive oil, that's an extract.
That's an extract.
Okay.
And then if you put the rosemary into alcohol, that's a tincture.
And an extract.
And an extract.
Okay. Now we got that settled.
Now, there are some advantages, you would think, to using a tincture or an extract, say in adding to your beer or your mead. And you've used them mostly in meads, right?
Yeah, I like doing it that way. And for the main reason I like adding a tincture to flavor the product with, whether it's mead or beer, is that I can really control the amount of flavor, the amount of spice. It's not a spice, but the flavoring that I'm adding to the liquid. It's a much more controlled process to me than chunking up a bunch of green chilies and throwing them in the wort or in the fermenting wort or fermenting must, and then you kind of get what you get. You don't have a lot of control over that in terms of the final flavor of the product. But if you do it as a tincture and add a few drops or in volume, say for home use, an ounce or two or three or whatever at a time, then you can really dial in the amount of flavor that you're adding to that beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in fact, we'll open here shortly this New Mexico Hatch Chili Belgian wit beer that I bottled in August, and I added a tincture to that. So I made the tincture and with green chilies that I'd roasted, and then added that to the beer, and we can see how it's holding up. And I'm curious to see because I haven't had one of these in a while.
And it's when you're adding, like if you're just steeping your your beer onto fruit or onto vegetables or onto whatever. That's kind of a wild card. You don't know how good it's gonna get.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't know how impactful that flavor is gonna be.
Right. So this way you can add a little, you can taste it, you can check the quality of the tincture before you use it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can determine the case of chilies, which is mostly what we're going to do today. You can determine the heat level. You can control the amount of heat in it. Let's say you're wanting to add a particularly hot chili. I know you've got a hot hatch chili. I've got some habanero extract. But if you were to do those as fresh live chilies, you do you get a little carried away with habanero, and you got a problem.
Yeah.
Because they're so strong, or ghost pepper or something like that, so a very little bit goes a long ways. So adding it as a tincture, a few drops, or again an ounce or so at a time, depending on your volume, you can control the amount of heat as well as the general flavor, which I think is important. Now maybe that's not so important if you're talking about blueberries. I mean, you kind of can't have too many blueberries, right? But still, if you're wanting to control the volume of flavor, level of flavor, then to me this is the easiest and best way to do it.
And it seems like to me that especially if you use something high on alcohol as your alcohol base, that there could be a sanitization kind of effect as well. If you're bringing in herbs from the garden or dried chilies or something like that, if you put them directly into your wort, there may be some hitchhikers in there that
well, there probably are. And whether or not they overcome the commercial yeast or they infect it, but maybe you drink it all before it becomes noticeable. That could happen. But I bet you in time, if there's anything on there that can survive the level of alcohol that's in that beer to begin with, it's going to express itself. It's going to come back to life somehow, and might be a good thing, but it probably won't.
Now here was my thinking when I was first designing this experiment. I was thinking in the old paradigm of I'll make 3 6-packs of beer, and my plan was to add the tinctures to each jug of beer. So I would have 3 6-packs with 3 different levels of tincture added,
right?
Or 3 different flavors of tincture added. And then I got to thinking, now why would I do that? Why don't I just dose like each bottle? Because this happened after I went after brew day. I was like, wait a minute, I could just dose the bottles.
Yeah,
which is another advantage of tinctures. I could just dose the bottles. And then when it came to bottling day, I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just bottle it all plain?
Yeah.
And then we'll just dose at serving time.
Yeah.
And that way we can play with it a lot more. And if I'm, I don't want to be stuck with a 6-pack of beers that I don't like.
Right.
So basically, I could have just made 1 6-pack. But what I did is I made 3 6-packs, each of them in a 1-gallon jug. So the recipe is 1 pound or 450 grams of Pilsen Light dry malt extract. I put that in 3 quarts, or around 3 liters of water. I brought that just up to boiling, and then I took it off the heat and added to each batch 9 grams of Czech Sats at 3.4% alpha acid for a 10-minute steep. So no boiling, just a 10-minute steep at boiling temperature. And then I chilled it down in an ice bath, and I pitched US-05, 3 grams of US-05 into each jug. Original gravity was 1063, final gravity 1010 for an ABV of 7%. And usually for these sampler segments, we have a guessing game, where Susan randomizes the bottles, and at the end of it, we have, we peel the tape off the cap, but we don't have it this time.
Yeah, and also we don't have the guessing game of after we're done, I have to figure out how to get home. Because I know it's just a straight shot down the highway, but sometimes I forget.
Well, in fairness, we do sit and have long chats. Tend to have long chats out on the porch afterwards. So, there's a modicum of responsibility there.
That's right.
So I guess what we ought to do is maybe open one of these pale ales.
Okay.
And
look at that.
We have a surviving. Your magic!
You can't see that on the
on
the air, but there's so much static electricity. My cup is sticking to me.
You're Magneto Man. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, and I brought a 6-pack, and you've got some beers too. These cups are bigger than they're bigger. They're TARDIS cups. They're bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. Boy, each one held half a beer. So cheers. Let's taste what we got first of all.
Okay.
Boy, it smells good.
Okay, that's a nice little pale ale.
Oh,
It's actually quite good.
yeah.
What did you say the hop was it again?
Sots. Czech Sots.
Really good.
It reminds me of. Do you remember when we did the pilot batches or whatever, the small batches, the clone batches of the New Albion
It does.
ale?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that a lot.
Yeah.
It's nice, and there's a fruitiness that's not as aggressive as today's pale ales.
Right.
But there is a nice clean fermentation profile, and there's some nice fruitiness from the hops, but not too fruity. It's not like it's not Cascade, which is what New Albion was, but I think it's a lot like it.
That's really good.
And it's really hard for me not to just down the rest of that cup, because I'm not doing dry January, but I'm doing moist January.
Moist January.
which means I've curtailed my beer consumption to the weekends, and it's Tuesday. So
Damn.
Yeah, I know. But yeah. So what I got here is I had 3 types of dried chili peppers. I had homegrown, I'm calling them Szechuan peppers.
Okay.
They're those long, skinny red ones that if you order, like Kung Pao chicken at, say, P.F. Chang's, and you get those peppers in there with the meal. They're like that, and I dried those myself. And so I put in each of these, I put half a cup of moderately priced vodka
Okay.
in there. And then I found a big bag of dried Hatch chili peppers, and then a similar size bag of, they're called hot Hatch chili peppers.
And we know Hatch is a city in New Mexico.
Okay.
Hatch, New Mexico, and so Hatch refers to the area of New Mexico that the chilies are grown.
And these are about the size of what, poblano peppers?
Well, they're actually if they're grown in California, you'd call them in Anaheim.
Oh, okay.
And I think biologically they're the same chili.
Oh.
Now there may be a chili head out there that's going to argue all day long that's not quite true, but it's true.
But it's like the Vidalia onion kind of a thing?
Kind of, yeah.
Where it's the terroir.
Oh, there's huge turf battles over it. So Pueblo, Colorado's trying to claim the chili thing now because they grow them in the Arkansas River Valley. And they're really good. They're a little hotter generally than the New Mexico style. And then Anaheim. And they're kind of the same, but there's terroir. Yeah, the soil is different. The amount of moisture they get is different. The priest that blessed them is different, and they're all good.
So we have here, amongst our little tools, I had a big bag full of those disposable dropper thingies, the little pipette, the plastic pipettes, and I forgot them. So, but you have an eyedropper here that I think will do just fine.
Yeah.
So I think we should try some of the tincture of just the plain Hatch chilies.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna put about half of a dropper into mine there.
Okay.
And do you want to do you want to do the same?
Yeah, it looked like about maybe 8 to 10 drops probably altogether.
I don't know how many milliliters that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
And I don't know whether we should taste the stuff.
I have less than you. Someone put some more in.
Should we taste some of the? You just squirt some of that right in your mouth and.
Well, I will.
On a dare. And you're not touching the sides of your mouth. We're sanitary here.
Oh, it's good.
How's it taste?
Oh, good. It's actually got a nice little heat level. Not hot, but it's got a nice, that smokiness that you would expect, and It's good.
Oh.
Yeah, it's real nice.
Oh.
I'd make candy out of that.
Ooh. Ooh. It's strong.
Yeah.
Both from the alcohol and from the
Yeah,
the
it is.
heat.
It is, essentially pure vodka.
Yeah.
So, but this is all in the name of science.
Right.
Yeah. So it's okay.
So.
Okay. So we did, at 8 to 12 drops.
Yeah, that's what, a couple milliliters maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. The one thing about those plastic pipettes is they had markings on them.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. We won't be able to submit this for a juried review. And I'm going into about 3 ounces of beer here. Nice.
That's very nice. It kind of darkened up the... There's not a noticeable pepper. If you handed this to me and said, "What's that?" I don't know that I would have just right off the bat said, "Oh, that's steeped, dried."
It made it savory. There's a savoriness now to the beer that wasn't there before.
Mm-hmm. And there is a little bit of heat on the back.
Just a little bit. And of course, we could dose it again. We could dose it, you can put as much of this as you want in. But just that amount really changed the beer a lot.
Yeah.
And so clearly, if you like that, then you would just do the math. You'd have to, figure out, okay, if 10 drops, what does that equal? How many mils is that? And move it on up, and you could dose your 5-gallon, keg. Well, that's the other nice thing is that you could go ahead and keg the beer, and then you could dose it.
Exactly.
And you don't have to worry about, gunk in your keg.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. And also, I got to say that these have been in the alcohol for like a week, and the little red ones, I had them in there like a day, and I had to break them up because the alcohol wasn't penetrating the outside the skin. So it's a good idea to, if you're doing the dried peppers, break them up.
Yeah.
And before you put them in there, because I had to break the other ones up in order to get them to fit into the jars. These are just mason jars, and it's a rich reddish brown color from the 2 hatch ones. What I'm calling the Szechuan is a little bit lighter, but not much. And the chilies were, especially the Szechuan ones, were bright red, going into it. But now it's a brownish color. So I wonder if in that same little sample of beer, if we were to just add a little bit more heat with the hot hatch.
Yeah.
I'll put about the same amount. Of course, it's ratio wise. Since I drank some of it, it's going to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it'll be a stronger flavor. And smell the difference between the. Oh man, that smells great. The tincture itself.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
Ooh. The hot one actually does smell a little hotter.
Yeah, it does.
Me.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Wow. Okay. So now we've dosed the same sample again.
Right.
But now with the hot chili, hot hatch chilies.
Oh, that's starting to get really good.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that a lot. That's good.
I was wondering if the hops, even though they're fairly mild, if they were going to be, if they were going to clash with the darkness of the peppers, or
right.
this, but they're not at all.
They're not at all. I think that's both attributable to the light hop, the small amount of hops that you put in them, and then also to the variety. I mean, Satz is a very mild, very pleasant,
right,
herbal, floral, where Cascade or Columbus or something like that's going to be a lot more aggressive. Chinook.
Yeah. The bitterness level is not intense, which that might have a tendency to clash.
And I think it would. I know that at some of the homebrew cons that we've been to over the years, even before they were called homebrew con, that occasionally I was served a chili beer that was pretty rough.
Well, I remember there was a habanero mead.
Oh yeah.
That took the top layer of. It was good. I enjoyed it, but I couldn't taste anything else for a good 15, 20 minutes after that.
I think that was in Miami
or Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando. That's right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. That was our first one.
Yeah,
I think welcome to woohoo.
Yeah.
Kelly from Groenfell and Havoc Meaderies tells me this is the time. The time is ticking to order Valentine's Day bundles at Groenfell.com. Stop what you're doing right now because Kelly says that February 3rd is pretty much the deadline to order to be sure you get them in time for Valentine's Day. But she says there is a decent chance that orders that come in after that will still get out in time. You can choose from Ancient Love, which contains headgear, Vanir, and a set of 2 Rocks-style drinking horns, perfect for meads. Just Can't Get Enough, which has a 4-pack each of Root of All Evil, Rose Brew, and Valkyrie's Choice, plus a set of 2 highball-style drinking horns. Cherry of My Eye, which includes a bottle of headgear and a set of 2 Rock-style drinking horns, and Gift from a Rose, which contains a 4-pack of Rose Brew and a set of 2 highball-style drinking horns. How fun is that? Celebrate your sweetie with some honey-based deliciousness from Groenfell and Havoc Meaderies. Order today at family-owned and operated Groenfell.com. That's Groennfell. Let's try the little Szechuan pepper, the little homegrown peppers. I wonder if the age of the pepper... Ooh, it still smells good.
You know, Little Szechuan's my kung fu name. Whenever I've been
in kung fu movies,
that's what they call me, Little Szechuan.
I'm going to give a couple of doses of this, just to kind of catch up with where we were on the other. Whoa! Okay. And it does have a little impact on the color of the beer as well. It smells kind of more floral.
Mm-hmm, it is. Definitely more floral. Not as savory.
Ooh, that's more, that's mostly heat.
Yeah, that's got some heat. That's hot.
Whereas the Hatch ones have a darker, richer flavor to them, and not so much heat. This pepper is mostly about the heat.
Yeah, it is. Although it does have some nice chili notes as well, but that has a much higher Scoville rating. I'm sure than either of these other two.
It's very bright. It's a lot brighter. The heat and the chili character. Maybe it's a little more fruity than the others. Of course, I didn't roast the. I wonder if the Hatch ones were roasted at all before they were dried.
I doubt it. I mean,
I dried mine in a food dehydrator.
Yeah, so I don't think they're in roast temperature. But you know, just the different character of the chilies. That's nice. I like them all. I mean, they're all nice, and they're all different, and that's the fun part of it.
Wow. I was telling you, I made my first sauce. I'm gonna pressure cook some boneless, skinless chicken thighs this evening and use that sauce in with that. But I had never used dried chilies before, and I didn't know what to do with them. But I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and you steep them and you take the seeds out if you want to, and steep them in hot water for 15, 20 minutes until they soften up. And then I sautéed some half of a yellow onion, diced it up and sautéed it with some garlic, and put that in the blender with the flesh from the peppers and about half of the liquid.
Yeah.
And then put some cumin and some oregano in there and some salt and pepper and a little fresh garlic, because I tasted it and there was something missing. It was kind of one layer.
Yeah.
But then I put some fresh garlic in there, and it kind of brightened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You have given me some like mole that is just delicious, and I'm assuming it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not a big expert on mole, but sometimes I'll make a red chili sauce like that, and that's pretty much how I do it. And then I'll continue to add things to it, like some chocolate, some dark chocolate, cinnamon, star anise, some other chili flavors. You can grind some other, like a fresh jalapeno in there as well, so you have different chili flavors, from the dried chilies and then from the fresh chilies, and you can go nuts. I mean, you can put nuts in it. You can put you can put walnuts and pine nuts and all sorts of stuff and make your mole that way. But again, I don't claim to be any kind of an expert on what mole consists of, because in true Mexican cuisine, I think there are hundreds of them, and
every region might have.
In every region, yeah. So I pretty much make kind of a standard, New Mexico red sauce or green sauce, depending on what I'm doing, green chili sauce or red chili sauce, and then flavor that a little differently depending on my needs. And I've got these.
I sneaked away and got a Kleenex.
And
I don't know if it's connected with the hot chilies or not, but
it might be.
I'm a little drippy.
So when you make carne adobado, you just make a red sauce, and you make that red chili sauce like you talked about. Chunk up some pork shoulder and put it in your crock pot or your Instapot, whatever you're going to put it in, and you let that stew until it's really tender, and then you serve that over some beans or some pozole, and you're in heaven.
And that's similar to a chili Colorado as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, very similar.
It's a little bit of a diversion.
But it's how to use these chilies.
Exactly.
And then
if you buy a giant bag like me, I bought 2 giant bags of dried chilies, and I was like, now I made my tincture. What the heck am I going to do?
And then you drink it with your chili beer. Well, this is great. Wow, I'm pretty impressed.
So now, should we sample one of your beers that you've made with the tincture process?
Sure. So let's try this. Let's do. I've got a Belgian wit beer here that I made, and I dosed this with New Mexico hatch chilies, but they were green. Oh. And I roasted the chilies, and then I peeled them, then I chunked them up, then I made the tincture, and then I dosed the 5-gallon batch with however many ounces I made. I bottled this in August. Not sure how it's going to be. I haven't had one of these in a while, but it was a good beer when I bottled it.
Oh, and nice, beautiful head on that.
I'm really curious to see how how much of the chili is left, if any of it's faded. I didn't dose it real heavy to begin with. It smells good.
Oh.
That's good.
That's an audio sync right there. Both of us saying "oh" at the same time.
It's still got a little bit, but
yeah. Compared to these heavily dosed,
it's not
samples,
as heavy.
It's not as heavy on the pepper side, but
and as a green chili, as an unripened pepper, it's going to have a brighter, more vegetal character than the dried chilies will have. Now, of course, this wit beer is also flavored with coriander and orange zest and grains of paradise and chamomile.
Oh, man.
So there's some other things going on in there.
That is a deceptively complex little beer. When you first sip it, it's like, oh, that's tasty, and then you sip another sip, and it's like all these other flavors come up.
It's a real subtle beer.
There's a little bit of heat though there too,
just a bit.
Which is a fun addition to that style. And I think we sampled one of these in a previous episode on the porch. I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't either. But it's been a few months.
But it's aged well.
Yeah.
Which is it's a compliment to your homebrewing skills. That it didn't explode upon opening.
Now I would like to. Let's try something here.
You want to dose it up?
Let's dose it up. Let's dose it up with a drop or two of natural habanero hot pepper extract.
And these are little samples that you had from your store.
These little salesman samples.
R.I.P.
And they're very high quality. I don't know. It's up to you whether you want to mention the brand or not.
Oh.
But that's not really important.
Yeah,
We're not
exactly.
doing a commercial for these folks.
Right. You find your stuff.
But it's very high quality.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious.
We got a little rinse glass for the eyedropper.
So now let's just say that we poured our beer. We like our beer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you the cookie.
Oh, okay.
And in this style of beer, that's appropriate.
That's appropriate for that style.
Yeah. So you have a little bit more. So you've done your beer. You like your beer, but you just wish it had a little heat.
A little heat. So a few drops.
I'm going to do
of this.
1, 2, 3 drops.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. Now that's just a guess. I haven't got a clue, except for I do know that this extract is pretty hot.
So you've been taking lessons from Mr. Owl.
Yeah.
For dosing. How many doses of habanero
right.
hot sauce in a
3.
1, a 2, a 3?
And let's see if this significantly changes the flavor.
The nose.
Oh yeah.
Just those 3 drops.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And this again is into a 3, maybe 4 ounces of beer.
Yeah. Holy smokes. That really, and I'm amazed at the aroma. It smells like fresh peppers.
That really, well, you taste it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really
really brought the heat level up, not significantly.
And this is an extract.
Yes. It's an alcohol-based extract.
Well, it says flavor contains alcohol, so I guess it's a tincture.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So it's another pepper tincture. It's a commercially available pepper tincture.
That's right.
But it also has, habaneros have a nice fruity flavor
right
before it kicks you in the face with the heat. This has that fruity flavor, but that heat level is, I think 3 drops is a good, for the amount of this, a third of a beer or whatever this is.
So if I'd had a full pint, I might have done a whole dropper amount, so a couple of mils. Maybe that might even be too much, though. Actually, a couple of mils might be too much.
Now, I saw that you have some other flavors here.
Yes.
Now, this is what's the?
Well, we don't want to.
No, we don't.
We don't want to talk about that.
No,
that's pumpkin pie spice.
Yeah,
I just need to bury that somewhere on the property.
Yeah.
I think I'll use it to keep armadillos away.
Yeah, you're being picketed outside right now. Homebrewers and craft beer lovers are just.
But there's orange zest. I don't just have a few. I've got orange zest. I've got cappuccino tiramisu,
which is one of my favorite things. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open another. Ooh,
okay.
I'm spending the night in your daybed here in your office. Okay, I've got another. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refill my.
Oh man, these are really tasty.
Yeah. Okay, so here's. I don't know what you want to do with it. Here's your half of this pale ale.
Okay, give me this. Give it to me.
You can have that in reserve.
Give me that straight.
You can use that to mix and match. Okay, so here's my plan. I've got this beer that had the Hatch flavorings in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of squirts of the hot Hatch flavor in there, and I'm going to rinse, as some people say around here, rinse the eyedropper, and then I'm going to get a little bit of chocolate.
Oh, nice, sweet.
And I'm going to make a mole in some regions. Not every region has chocolate, right? In their moles. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 drops of. You want 3?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3 drops of chocolate in there.
Now, again, the amount that we're putting in would be highly dependent on the
source.
The source.
Right.
How flavorful, how concentrated is the flavor. So this is basically, this is how Edison discovered the light bulb.
I'm gonna stir with this little spoon that's on a gold chain for some reason. I don't know
Oh,
what.
yeah, it's my RC cola spoon. Got that in Alabama.
Yeah, it has disco forever on it for some reason. Then it's Studio 54. Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clunk. Okay,
So now we've got hatch. I didn't put any
hot hatch.
Hot hatch.
Okay, get your hot hatch back for Top Gear fans. Here. Oh, give it a whole squirt of that.
A whole squirt? Okay.
Yeah.
I just did. Okay.
And then
hot hatch back.
So this is it's got the hot mole or the hot hatch in there, which is a dark flavor, and then a few drops of chocolate.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That is so good.
That chocolate. I'm amazed at the strength of that.
No kidding.
Chocolate. You get chocolate up front, you get those dark peppers, and then you get a little bit. You get some heat on your back end.
Well,
that'll happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it makes me want to put a little bit of the habanero in there too.
Wow.
I'm gonna put some drops of habanero to spice it up a little bit. I'm gonna put like 3 drops of
give me some
habanero in there too.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot. I took a lot of that in there. I'll save that.
I'll be visiting my proctologist later tonight.
So I'm gonna steer.
Oh my, that really, really brightened it up.
Oh, the aroma.
Yeah.
Jumps out at you. That spicy pepper aroma and chocolate. Oh.
Okay, that's getting close to heaven. That's good.
That's really good. I would drink a pint of that any day.
Any day, and I'd have it with my carne asada.
No kidding.
Yeah,
But
carne adobado.
But the fruitiness of the hops still go with what's going on there. And I think this is an appropriately hopped beer for this level of flavoring that we're playing around with, because there's the fruitiness there. There's a little bit of bitterness.
That is so good.
The malt character is clean. Oh, I would drink that all day.
Yeah.
That is so good. So now, what we have to do, in theory, is to figure out the ratio of the tinctures and the extracts and all that stuff. And theoretically, you could make a keg of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Clearly you have to have your tincture made. So that's going to be a known quantity. Although if we both made the same tincture, mine might be stronger than yours. So everybody's tincture is going to be a little different, which of course is true no matter which hospital you go to. But
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. But so you start with the product, and then you want to really be careful and measure your dosing very carefully, because you're working in very small amounts. And then of course you have to do the laborious task of figuring out how much that really equals for 5 gallons.
You got to scale up.
Or 10 gallons, whatever.
Yeah.
Or for a fooder.
Yeah, my fooder.
I need a fooder of this.
I've got my fooder that I have in the garage. I have to park outside.
The fooder mobile.
It doubles as a hot tub between batches.
That's right. We're going to put that in our new house. I'm going to put it in a fooder tub.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to jinx what you just said. Okay, now what is this?
Okay, this is my Irish Stout, and I thought we could play.
I thought it said something else. Your handwriting's got to improve. I thought it was a 4-letter word we can't say on this show.
It's my Downton Abbey. Okay. I thought we could mess around with this, with the stout a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and
which has the chocolatey flavors already.
I'm curious about adding a little orange to this, which I think would be lovely.
Oh,
although I've never done it.
What a beautiful beer!
Yeah, so this is my standard Irish stout, meant to drink, pretty much like a Guinness.
Part of me hates to mess with that
I know.
because it's so good.
But see, we can add chilies to it, which would be nice. I've also got cappuccino tiramisu.
Well, we need something contrasting.
So I was thinking orange.
Yes.
Because I just orange and chocolate somehow
Yes.
is like,
Yeah.
that's a happy thought
You
to
bet.
me.
I've lost control of my dripper. How many drops you want? 3? Seems to
Yeah.
be the...
Okay.
Seems to be the... Oops.
You got 4.
Or at least. I got a little stirring spoon here. We should come out with a home game for this.
Yeah. The home version. Okay.
Oh. Wow. That's a lot of orange.
Mm-hmm. Mine's not, I'm sure, not as heavy as yours. You did get 2 or 3 more drops than I did. But I can really smell the orange.
Oh, it's good. I think I added a little too much. It's overpowering the rest of the flavor profile of the beer. But it's still good. It's still good.
Right. Well, that's very instructive as well. What if you get too much in?
Mm-hmm. And then you go to the next sample.
That's right. Or you just don't drink very much. You just drink a junior sample.
BR 549.
That's right. Okay, I don't like that as much as I thought I would.
It's not knocking me out.
It's not.
Not like these others.
Yeah.
I liked all the others that we've put together.
Now, I want to try to save it, though.
This one is not as good as the original beer.
I agree.
And now I don't have
Now
much of it
ruined
left. So now...
I don't have any more.
Well, we
ready to
got
go.
the tiramisu.
Let's try to add a little.
Oh, cappuccino.
Yeah, let's try that.
Cappuccino tiramisu.
Let's try that.
I saw her. she was on stage the other night.
She was at the Folly, wasn't she?
This is thick. Oh my! That's
Oh,
a
boy.
lot.
Okay, I'm going to just do
Syrupy.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2,
No,
3.
put
1,
the
2,
rest
3.
back in there.
Oh, back
Oh,
in
what?
there.
No, that was stupid. I was like, I don't want to waste it. There's 3 drops there. Okay, let's see what happens now. So we've coffeed this up and
tiramisu, which is my favorite dessert. If anybody's wanting to buy me a dessert from across a crowded restaurant, we got orange.
Nah, it's okay. It's just
No.
everything's kind of clashing around. It's not really working.
I think we got to cut bait on that one.
Okay, I'm ready to. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That's one of those things. Yeah.
So, but this is another example of this process and in how you don't always get good stuff.
No.
And why it's advantageous if you thought in your head when you were brewing, I'm going to make a stout, and then I'm going to put some coffee in there, and I'm going to put some orange, and then you do it, and you got 5 gallons of crap.
Yep. That you just keep drinking because you can't quite throw it away.
Because you gotta empty that keg.
That's
because
right.
that good beer that you really want's in the fermenter.
That is a real shame. I'm really surprised that we didn't like the orange in there. I thought it would be like.
I think
that's really
I did
killer.
too much.
Well, I did. I know I did 3 drops, and I think that was too much.
Yeah.
So maybe 1 drop would have been like, wow.
There you go.
But
Start small. On that tincture.
Yeah.
Now, on a homemade tincture, it's not going to be that strong, probably.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I imagine these are quite a bit
But these are like
more refined.
professionally, commercially made
Wow,
tinctures
that
or
is
extracts or
too
whatever.
bad.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be killer.
I think that this has been. I've learned a ton.
It's very instructive. All 3 of the ones you made great beers with this pale ale.
Yeah.
All 3 of them did. All 3 were a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I think we blended the hot and the Szechuan. Is that what we did? I think.
Well, the regular hatch and the hot hatch.
That's what
we blended together.
Well, the blend we did was really nice. So, again, it's having 2 or 3 things you can play with.
And then the hot hatch with the chocolate, I like the best, I think. And then with a little bit of the commercial habanero in there as well.
Yeah, that was super good.
I've never tried a dry habanero peppers. That would be...
I would put on some goggles and I'd put on a hazmat suit for that.
That would be fun.
But still, it would be really good. Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and I hope that, and I've had a lot of fun. I hope everybody else has too. But we're going to keep playing, I think. But, man,
these are good. I'm just really enjoying these. Not that stout thing.
No.
That's an abomination to the Lord.
No, that ruined that beer, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It was a good beer.
But all the others, what we did to them didn't hurt them. They were really good.
No.
And I agree with you that my favorite was the one that had just a touch of chocolate, a touch of habanero, and a touch of the hatch.
Yeah.
And that made the most complex, most quaffable of the whole bunch.
Yeah.
It was very good.
I would drink a keg of that.
Yeah, and the chocolate in the pale ale, at first I was like, oh, we should do the chocolate in the stout.
Right.
I was like, well, that's the natural thing. But the chocolate in that light pale ale, again, not too much. Didn't turn it into a Hershey bar.
Right.
But just that little touch of chocolate, it just rounded it off. It softened it up. A little bit of heat, the savoriness from the hatch. Really good stuff.
Looks can be deceiving when it comes to beers, and this is an indication of that.
Yeah, and of course, and I was thinking also a little bit about how a tincture addition, even if you're dosing it at service, like that's the whole way that you're going to do it. You're going to pour yourself a beer and just give it a little drop here and there. That's a fun thing to do. That's not the same thing as a Randall.
No.
Meaning a Randall is going to give you a completely different treatment. There's a big argument. If you have one, great. If you don't have a Randall, use a tincture.
Right. And the Randall, for those of you who don't know, is a device where you can load stuff in it, and it runs the beer through the stuff on tap.
Right.
Which is a fun idea, developed by Sam Calagione from Dogfish Head. This is kind of a poor man's Randall.
A little bit,
in that you dose your own, dose your own.
That's right.
Dose your own glass. But it'd be a fun party idea.
Heck yeah.
To have a nice kind of neutral, delicious pale ale on tap for those who want just the delicious pale ale.
Yeah.
But then a little bit a bar with samples of tinctures that you can mix and match and kind of make your own little.
That sounds pretty fun.
That would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
There you go. So there's your idea for this week, folks. Well, Steve, thanks for having me over, and thanks for another fun episode, and we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds great, James.
Well, thanks again to Steve. I have some ideas of what I want to do in the next tincture sampler. Let me know what you think that we should try. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. It's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.